Hey, it finally turned on. Okay. Marshes through seawater today, about 4 minutes in, and still forgot to turn this thing on. Okay, so hey. All right, here we go. Talking about marshes. Marshes like swamps are wetlands. Marshes, grasses predominate. Swamps, bushes, and trees are the main flora. Saltwater marshes then are wet, grassy areas that can occur any place on land and sea where they meet. And marshes are some of the most productive land on Earth. Using photosynthesis, marsh grasses convert vast amounts of solar energy into plant tissue. And as the grasses die, large nutrient loads are released into adjacent estuary waters. And the estuary system cycles nutrients or support food chains that produce the majority of commercial value fish and shellfish and or ocean salmon. Basically what that's saying is when you stir up the bottom of this thing, it releases nutrients that comes up that helps to feed the plants, that helps to feed the fish, and all that good stuff. Okay, so it's like the cycle of life, if you would. Okay, and a little later on we're going to talk about where a lot of these nutrients comes from. It actually comes from the little critters that dies and settles at the bottom of the ocean and decay, and they come back up. It's kind of like the leaves on your trees. Okay, when your leaves falls off the trees and they settle around the trunk of the tree, that was part of God's plan. And actually, they keep the rooting system warm, then they decay, and they actually feed the tree. Okay, so it's kind of the same thing here. Okay, little creatures die, but they become part of the environment, and as they decay, their nutrients actually will go in and help feed other animals and plants. Okay.
And it doesn't directly feed the animals, it goes to the plants that the animals eat.
Oh, so we're not.
Can you go up again?
Can you go full more?
Okay. A marsh often smells rather pungent at low tide. This smell is normal. The one that you'll go into does not smell this bad. Okay, it doesn't smell. Marsh are mucky, slimy black mud. They are oxygen poor environment. They're anaerobic, which means it doesn't have oxygen. Bacteria in the muck emits a hydrogen sulfate, which produces that rotten egg smell. But this one right here, because you get so many little creatures in it, crabs especially will dig their burrows down into the bottom. And when they do that, it actually helps oxygen to get down into the mud. So it keeps this one from knocking you down when you walk out there. It doesn't smell at all like that. I want to straighten this up. Maybe you can see me a little bit better. Okay? All right, let's talk about the ocean a little bit. Yay, ocean.
Wait, can you go up for just a second?
Okay. The world ocean, in which our Atlantic is a part, covers roughly 70%. Or one of the readings says 71%. This one says roughly 70%. You're going to see it somewhere between 70 and 73, 74% of the ocean, depending on who's writing it. Okay. It's an average depth of about 2 miles, a little bit more than 2 miles. I think we figured out it was about 2 1/3 miles. Of course, you do have other places that are deeper, but other places are not that deep. Okay, that's where the average comes in. Okay, it's kind of like on your grades. You make 100, you make a 50, you add them up. Yeah, your average is 75 all of a sudden. You see how that works? Okay. Now, this amount of water sounds enormous, but if you compare it to the mass of the Earth, the water mass is actually very small. If the Earth was the size of a 12-ounce globe, like that one right there, the ocean would only be a thin film of water on the top. Yeah, we think about it just going on forever, but it would just be a very thin film of water along the top of the Earth. That's not weird. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So, the Atlantic portion of the vast blank is very fertile. So, if that's only, I thought it would be in the first paragraph, but that's it.
Well, guess you thought wrong. Have to keep going and look for it. It'll be okay.
No weakness.
It'll be okay. Okay? The ocean contains 98% of the water on Earth. This salty pool of ocean water is intimately connected with the other pools of water, so essential to life. And they're talking about fresh water and groundwater. This is what we had talked about the other day. If you pollute, if you throw out a plastic water bottle and it gets washed down a storm drain, eventually it's going to find its way into a river, and then it's going to eventually find its way out into the ocean. Okay, so when you pollute things, because they all run together, eventually rivers runs into the ocean. So you will actually, if you throw something on the ground here, there's a good chance it will, if it goes down a storm drain, it will eventually end up in the ocean. Yeah.
I should.
It's not 100% positive that would happen, but it could. Okay, so a constant recycling occurs between the pool. Y'all know about the water cycle,
Yeah.
of course. Okay, y'all learned that. The water cycle, of course, you've got condensation in the clouds. It becomes precipitation, comes down, hits the ground. If it falls, even if it falls in the ocean or if it falls on the ground, part of it evaporation goes back. Some of it is absorbed into the ground. That's where the fresh water comes from. That we can, you can dig wells and things and hit fresh water. That's where that comes from. It helps to feed that, continue to feed that. Okay, so sunlight evaporates fresh water from salty oceans. Clouds form. Rain is released over the land, replenishing the fresh and groundwater stores, which flows once again into the seas. So it's just this continuous cycle. Okay? The Atlantic portion of the vast Una Ocean, and Una means it's actually just one huge ocean, okay? Is very fertile, supporting a dense and variety growth of plants and animals. All right, you got two types of currents that serves the maintain the Atlantic productivity. You've got upwelling currents that comes up from the bottom of the ocean, and then you've got the Gulf Stream. Okay. Upwelling currents brings water from the deep ocean floor to the surface. Along with the water comes the nutrients in the form of decayed organisms from ages past. That's where some of the little animals have passed away or whatever. The nutrients along with sunlight provides for a rich growth of plankton, and plankton of course supports the oceanic food chain. And we've talked about how important plankton is to the environment, to the coastal region, to the fact that so many animals, the biggest animal on earth eats the smallest.
Exactly.
No, the blue whale's the biggest animal on earth.
That's crazy.
Whale shark is the biggest fish.
My fault.
That's okay. It is the biggest fish. Okay? So the bountiful plankton growth results in the somewhat murky blue-green brown color of the ocean off our coast. And that murky, that greenish, if you had an aerial shot, if the coastal line is greenish out, as you look down on it, it's kind of greenish around the shoreline, that's actually a healthy environment. Okay, if it appeared to be red or something like that, not so much so. Okay, that means that it's in danger, it's not getting enough oxygen for all the plants and the little animals in that area. Okay? All right, now sand. Oh, sand, this is a fun one to talk about.
I love
Okay.
sand. It's
Sand.
actually parrotfish poop.
Okay? Standing on a sandy beach, one might guess that the beach is relatively void of life. On the contrary, all the spaces and the moisture between those little grains of sand is teeming with life. You got all kinds of little microscopic creatures living in the sand that you're playing with and rolling in.
Hey, you're rolling in the ocean.
This life is not visible to the unaided eye. It consists of single-celled plants and animals and other microscopic organisms. It is hard to imagine the extent and the activity of this tiny world that we see only with, that you can only see with a microscope. Okay? So it's not like you anything in there is going to hurt you, okay? But just to let you know that even the sand has little living creatures in it. And you build, and then you go out and you build them little castles, and they feel like royalty for a short time, and then you destroy the castle, and then you just break their little hearts. See? So shame on you. Shame on you. Okay.
I doubt they have one.
That's all sand is. It's just one paragraph.
Wait, crap.
Poor sand.
All right, sand dunes. Again, this is all online, folks. This is all online. You can go look for it. Okay? Sand dunes. Dunes are formed through the interaction of three key elements. You got to have sand, you got to have wind, you got to have plants. You got to have those three things to make sand dunes. Okay, obviously. Sand, of course, is supplied by the beach. Wind at the shore is nearly constant, whipping the sand about. And then the plants that we talked about yesterday, sea oat, seagrass, that's what we're talking. They stop the sand as it is being blown, and that sand accumulates at the base of the plant, and it builds up the dunes. Okay? And then more sand, as it comes across, it hits the plants, it falls at the roots, and it starts to build up. And that's how you build up sand dunes. So you got to have those three things. Okay? You got to have sand, wind, plants. Okay? All right, let's talk about seawater. Yay, seawater. And then you're done.
Table salt.
Yes. All right, seawater in oceans and sounds comprise 98% of the water on Earth. Seawater is composed of solutions of water, salts, and small concentrations of virtually all other natural elements.
Lime.
Okay.
Lemon and sea.
The salt found in seawater, and we talked about this the other day, okay? The salt found in seawater is mostly table salt,
Oh.
okay? Along with a small amount of other salts. But it is mostly table salt. So when Wendy tells you about how, hey, we're the healthy alternative, we salt our fries with sea salt, so does everybody else. It's basically table salt. But it's a great marketing ploy.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
that they pay more or they charge more.
All right, so it's made up of about 78% table salt. Magnesium chloride is about 11%. Epsom salt is about 5%, which is, if you ever sprung an ankle or something like that, you soak your feet. When you get to be my age, old people, they used to soak in a tub with Epsom salt because it helps take away the aches and the pains and all that stuff.
I do that.
It actually works. Believe it or not, I have no idea why, but it does work. Calcium sulfate, about 3.5. Potassium sulfate is a little bit less than 3. And then lime. It's actually got a little bit of lime, 0.34% of lime. Okay, we're not talking lime like the fruit lime. We're talking, you know, like you put down on an athletic field where you line the fields. That's lime. Oh, ew.
Can we eat them?
Isn't that gross? Braxton's giving me the evil eye now. Okay. Well, that's less than 14 minutes. That's not horrible. Just do the reading, answer the questions. Hopefully this helped a little bit. Now we're getting ready to go crazy and have to answer some questions in here. Bye.